coming up on this episode of the Parkinson's Disease Education Podcast.
Oh, no, someone's recording.
Uh-oh,
Ah!
it's the CIA.
If they're listening to us, they're really bored. Is your shoulder tight? I said, yeah, it's been tight for ages. He kind of grabs my arm and wiggles it around and goes, I'm going to send you to see a neurologist. So it was definitely a big surprise. And my wife was, that's a great idea. Because she'd been talking to everyone and like, what the heck is wrong with Dave?
I knew there was something wrong with his brain. I'm glad you said that. No.
Yeah. This is fun.
Hi there, welcome to the Parkinson's Disease Education channel, where we attempt to demystify the disease and to empower you as the person with Parkinson's disease to reach your true potential. You're in for a real treat on this video because we're going to be sharing a conversation that I had between a conversation between myself and David Gebhart of Life with Parkinson's channel. You can check that out in the card above and also in the list of recommended channels. David has young onset Parkinson's disease. He's a great individual and a great person to learn from, so I do encourage you to check out his material. In today's conversation, part 1 of 2, we're going to be sharing with you his experience of becoming diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And this may be a similar story to a lot of you who are watching, so I really do encourage you to listen to what he has to say. And also, so that you can share this and to be able to articulate to other people what they need to be looking out for. You'll notice some common trends, which is the fact that a lot of non-motor symptoms cropped up before it was really obvious physically that he had Parkinson's. So that's something to key in on. But I'll let the conversation speak for itself. Without further ado, let's listen to our conversation between myself and David. Let's roll.
Oh, no, someone's recording.
Uh-oh,
Ah!
it's the CIA.
If they're listening to us, they're really bored.
They must be, especially on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's great to have you and talk to you today, David. And I wanted to introduce you to anybody that doesn't know you. Today we're having a conversation with David Gebhart. He has a channel on YouTube, Life with Parkinson's, handle at Life with Parkinson's if you want to search for that. And I'll put a link in the description as well, of course. I'm really excited. This is our first collab. We've been talking about it for a little while, and of course, David's a supporter of my channel, and I'm very grateful for that. And I've really enjoyed his material, and I've been blessed that we've been connected, and that I get to know him a little bit more. So, David, I thought it would be nice to talk today a little bit more about your experience, and I know you've been diagnosed since, I think it was 2017, correct?
Yeah, May of 2017.
And then so I thought it would be valuable for folks who are either seeking a diagnosis of Parkinson's or maybe who have just been diagnosed, to kind of hear what your experience was like of leading up to the diagnosis, between the medical side of things and what you were seeing that led you to seek out, consultation for that. What was your experience with that?
It's a funny thing because I wasn't really looking for Parkinson's. Like, nobody in my family was looking for it, but I had a lot of symptoms like, delayed drag and, just emotional issues. And I've been seeing my family doctor I was getting warts on my feet all the time. Maybe it was the stress, who knows? But I was basically in there getting them removed like every week. They kind of freeze it, trims them off, freeze it more, trims them off. It's a lengthy and painful process. And he just looks at me one day and says, is your shoulder tight? I said, yeah, it's been tight for ages. He kind of grabs my arm and wiggles it around and goes, I'm going to send you to see a neurologist. So it was definitely a big surprise. And my wife was, "That's a great idea," because she'd been talking to everyone and like, what the heck is wrong with Dave?
I knew there was something wrong with his brain. I'm glad you said that. No.
Yeah.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah. And me, it just went zing over my head. Like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Yeah, I've been having other problems. Like it was getting difficult to type, getting difficult just to keep up at work, getting difficult to get enough sleep at night.
So basically some telltale signs were there, but you really hadn't had insight into all those being put together potentially for Parkinson's.
No, I was working 40 to 60 hours a week. I was part owner, like a junior owner in a garage door company. I was on call a lot and training new people, just basically doing everything you would do in a small business.
Yeah.
I had no time to think about my health, no time to think about what was wrong with me other than getting rid of those stupid warts, which interestingly enough did leave after I got diagnosed. But yeah, getting diagnosed was a strange process because it was very foreign to me. Like my wife has endometriosis, so we'd seen lots of specialists for her over the years.
Yeah.
My daughter has type 1 diabetes, so we'd seen her specialist. But I was more programmed to, take care of everyone else's medical problems, not really my own. And then to get referred to a neurologist was like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And my family doctor was quite concerned about us because we were making some big life changes, like some big life decisions at that time. And he was like, don't move, hold off on these decisions. And he was calling the neurologist like every week, come, you got to fit Dave in, you got to fit Dave in. So the neurologist actually drove up from Vancouver on a Sunday to come and see me at the local medical clinic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, try and get that to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's like, I was pretty impressed. And then when we're in the appointment with him and he starts talking Parkinsonism, I'm just like, well, what the heck is going on?
What was going through your mind at that time when that term was being thrown around?
It's just like, on the one hand, we're making all these plans, and on the other hand, someone's talking about Parkinsonism out of the blue. It was it's like almost like getting like in those old cartoons when they drop the piano on you.
Yeah, that's a good vision.
Everything comes to a stop, right? Your roller coaster just comes to a stop, and everything else that you're dealing with goes flying out, and you're just like, wow, I got to deal with it. It did take a good 48 hours to sink in. Like this was real, it was happening, it was going to happen, it was already happening, and you couldn't stop it. Somehow you just got to get off that roller coaster of life and deal with it. You just don't really have a choice. But at that time, it was just like, no, we're going to do all this stuff. And all of a sudden it just all gets canceled. It's a really strange feeling.
Yeah, it must be. And also true, or two, your what you just said a few minutes ago was something I picked up on was your role was changing as well.
Yeah.
For the family, because
Absolutely.
you were basically what I heard you say was you were essentially a caregiver, or almost. I mean, not that your daughter and your wife needed 24/7 care from you, but just you had that role of a supporter and helping them with their conditions, dealing with that and appointments and so forth. And then now you're in that yourself. So
yeah, it is really strange because it's just like it almost sneaks up on you, right? You start to have problems, but you can manage it because your brain is still producing some dopamine at least.
Right.
But the further you get into the condition of Parkinsonism, it just gets harder and harder to deal with things. Like we were doing a real estate deal, just moving down the hill, downsizing a little bit, and and I almost screwed up the purchase of the place that we're moving to. just because I couldn't think straight and deal with the magnitude of the situation. Yeah, I almost screwed up the deal. We would have been homeless on the street because we had already sold our other house. So, yeah, if we had lost that deal, we would have been homeless.
Wow.
You just don't think about those things.
Those are the kind of things that happen, and you scare yourself, essentially, realizing what could have been.
Yeah, it's frightening. It's frightening to think about. But at the time, I was like, why? What is going wrong? You just don't know.
Oh, and it's interesting that all of the symptoms that you described are, I mean, there's some motor symptoms involved there, like with the shoulder and things like that, but which was probably an early form of, either dystonia or just rigidity, something, some sign that something wasn't quite right, but muscle tone wise. But interestingly, though, all the things you're piecing together, of course, I'm in my mind, but it's different because I see this every day, but it screams Parkinson's, right? It's like trouble sleeping, brain fog, not putting thoughts together. Everything you said is like part of a puzzle. But individually, you did the same thing almost anybody would do. It's like, oh yeah, I've got some trouble sleeping. Well, I'm stressed at work. I've got, you explain things to yourself, basically. It sounds like, or is that accurate, or am I inferring that?
No, what you're saying is bang on. Like, we can look at it now and definitely see that it's Parkinson's, but with somebody with no knowledge of it at all, and thinking that it's just a stereotype that senior citizens get Parkinson's.
Exactly.
We would have never, ever, ever connected the dots. There would have been no way.
It's interesting too. That's a really good point that you just brought up. Is I don't know the statistics exactly, but young onset Parkinson's is much more common than it used to be.
Yeah.
And at least anecdotally, I'm sure that's the statistics bear that out. I just don't remember the numbers right now, but it's much more common than it used to be, to the point where I'm hoping that mindset shift will change especially in the healthcare world, that people are thinking about that. Not necessarily that, I mean, I don't expect an individual or the layperson to always be thinking of those things, but for the healthcare provider to start to put those things together for the patient ahead of time. And it sounds like your doctor did a fantastic job of doing that.
Oh yeah, we're very grateful for our family doctor, who is just geographically not our family doctor anymore because we moved. Yeah, we've been with him for a long time, and he really saved our bacon.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that you had really an overall good experience with the process of getting diagnosed, and that your physician was not only listening but observing. So,
yeah, very good advocate.
What would you say over the course of the last several years has been the most helpful thing, or the most helpful information that you've received from a healthcare professional of any kind?
Well, that's an easy one, because the most helpful information we got was, well, I guess after my diagnosis, I hit a little depression because I started to have memory problems, like forgetting where I was driving at the time. And the most hilarious one was forgetting how to put gas in the car.
Oh.
So then
it's funny now.
Yeah, funny now. But I'd gone back to see the neurologist who diagnosed me, and my memory was having problems. And then I failed the standard memory test, and then he started to get worried. So then he sent me to see a dementia specialist, who determined in the end that I did not have dementia, which I was really happy about. But then he kind of sat me and my wife down and gave us the most helpful advice we'd ever gotten. He's like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, I don't want to scare you, but I don't know if I should put this in the video or not. You can decide. You've got the bad kind of Parkinson's. And he's like, there's basically two kinds of Parkinson's. One is tremor based, which he, in his personal opinion, is the good kind. And then the other is rigidity based, and in his own opinion is the bad kind. And he's like, that's the kind you have. You need to start to prepare now for your future, because it might come sooner than you think. And he's like, I'm not guaranteeing it's going to be a quick progression, but it could come sooner than you think. So you need to get ready now, make your major life decisions, start preparing for retirement. And when you get that advice at the time, it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, everything he told us has come to pass. You can decide if you want to put that in or not.
Well, I don't think that, I'm not afraid of having people hear that. That's interesting that he said that, because that corroborates what I've heard as well about tremor versus non-tremor dominated Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
That the progression tends to vary, and tends to be slower in those with tremors, which is ironic. But how do you feel like the memory issues are affecting you now? Is it something that's manageable, or is it?
Oh, it's very manageable. Yeah, it's very manageable. Even though he diagnosed me with mild cognitive impairment, and I haven't really talked about that yet on my channel, my wife and I are trying to put together a video about it, but it's so hard. It's just something so hard to talk about.
Sure.
I've recorded it and deleted it, and then my wife and I recorded it and deleted it. You know, it's just so hard to talk about. We just haven't nailed down like the point of view that we want to pass on to people about what having a mild cognitive impairment is like. Because when you're on, you're okay. You can think and make decisions, but when you're off, you're not okay. Like when I'm off, sometimes I'll change my good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It just becomes a big quandary of like, how do you distinguish reality one from the other?
Yeah.
When you're on, you can see reality clearly. When you're off, it's clouded. So then you might change things that you already made decisions about. It's just.
That's rough. Yeah, that's hard.
That's the most difficult thing I've discovered with a mild cognitive impairment. And when he when he diagnosed me with it, I was like, no. But I see it now. 6 years later, I do see it now, why he did that. It's because, in my mind anyhow, it's because of these on and off periods.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're off, everything about you is off, not just your physical symptoms, your mental symptoms are off. And when you're on, everything's back on. It's like when you're anyhow, for me, when I'm coming out of an off, I know I'm coming on because all of a sudden I have to go pee. So everything fires back up again. It's like, oh, I'm on. It's time to go to the bathroom. It's funny.
I'm sorry. That's really funny. I mean, that's interesting. You have that cue that it's like the autonomic nervous system goes boom.
Yeah.
And I've got to go to that's so interesting. That's really interesting, actually. Because, sorry, I'm geeking out here, but it's like the autonomic nervous system is affected with PD with every system that it controls, which includes bowel and bladder and digestion and heart rate and all that. So it just is so interesting. Also kind of funny that the first cue of coming back on is that signal is working again, or that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really.
Basically, that is my cue. I'm like, oh, honey, I'm coming back on. I got to go pee. Like, okay.
Is it, honey, I'm back. I gotta go to the bathroom. So, that's very interesting, though. Truly. And I'm actually glad you're talking about this, though, because I believe me, I could sympathize completely with your hesitancy and sharing that. But also like how to word it to people and that kind of thing. But one of the things I was going to say is I'm glad you are talking about it in the sense that what you're saying actually, I hope would be encouraging to some people, ironically, because unlike Alzheimer's and other severe forms of dementia, the cognitive impairments, now don't get me wrong, you can have Alzheimer's disease along with Parkinson's disease, and I've seen that, and it's rough. But that's not that one is caused by the other. it's a more of happenstance. But with Parkinson's related dementias, with the cognitive impairments we're talking about, it is manageable in the sense that when you have the adequate amount of neurotransmitters you need, things are working okay. You got when you have your medications and you're on, you have more dopamine, which means you also have more acetylcholine, which means your attention and memory are better, and so forth. So, but that's a testament to the proper management of the disease through medication, and as well as through other means such as exercise and so forth. So. I hope you really enjoyed part 1 of this video. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed this, leave your comments, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss when the next video, part 2 of the conversation, drops very soon. I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, be empowered, and I'll catch you later.